What's up everyone? Today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 most anticipated roller coasters opening this year. 2021 has the potential to be one of the best years for roller coasters. That is, if any of them actually open. Looking at you, Iron Gwazi. But at this point, it's safe to say this year will most likely seem amazing compared to that dumpster fire of a year, 2020. 2021 certainly has a lot of pressure on its shoulders, especially in the coaster industry. So let's hope this year is a little less apocalyptic.
Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe because this is literally my third video and it'll help me out a ton. If you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure you leave a like, and without further ado, let's get into the countdown.
Alright, so before we get into the list, there's a couple things I want to go over. First, this video is all speculation because none of these rides are open to the public yet. Also, everyone has their own opinions, so please respect mine. Feel free to share your own top 10 in the comments below. Secondly, like most enthusiasts, I'm a huge fan of airtime, so naturally, coasters that should have insane airtime were towards the top of my list. If you don't know what airtime is, it's when your body rises up off the seat. There are three types: floater, which is when you gracefully rise up to your restraint and stay airborne for a little while; ejector, which is where you are intensely slammed up to the restraint, then come back down; and finally, flowjector, which is a mix of the two where you're slammed up but then remain airborne for a few seconds. Starting off our list at the number 10 spot is the 153 foot or 46 meter tall B&M dive coaster, which is Emperor, opening at SeaWorld San Diego. Emperor has 2,411 feet or 735 meters of track, a max speed of 60 miles per hour or 97 kilometers per hour, a 90-degree first drop, and 3 inversions. The layout is more or less first drop, Immelman, overbank turn, barrel roll, corkscrew, and finally a right-hand turn into the brakes. While Emperor is a short ride, it looks to be a decently fun coaster. Seeing as it is a dive coaster, it probably won't be very forceful, but it should have good pacing because unlike most dive coasters, it doesn't have a mid-course brake run. From some footage of Emperor testing, it appears to have some good whip, especially in that final corkscrew. This ride is perfect for SeaWorld San Diego and will certainly be a favorite among the general public. Staying in the SeaWorld chain, number 9 is Icebreaker, opening at SeaWorld Orlando. This Premier Rides launch coaster looks to be good fun for thrill seekers, but also tame enough for most members of the family. It is a fairly short ride containing only 1,900 feet or 579 meters of track. It has a max speed of 52 miles per hour or 83 kilometers per hour, and a max height of 93 feet or 28 meters. So you may be asking, how could Icebreaker, a small coaster with no inversions, be better than Emperor? Well, it launches forward and backwards a few times before you clear that top hat and get into the main section of the ride, meaning you actually travel 2,750 or 838 meters of track. It has a decent amount of hills that should give some fun airtime, along with some turns and off-axis hills that should give some laterals. Just like SeaWorld Orlando's other coasters, Icebreaker has a nice setting on the lake. Icebreaker may not be an insane coaster, but it should be a fun ride that all coaster fans can enjoy. Number 8 is the RMC single rail coaster Stunt Pilot, opening at Silverwood in Idaho. Stunt Pilot is a clone of Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas, meaning it has 1,800 feet or 549 meters of track, a 90-degree first drop of 100 feet or 30 meters, a max speed of 52 miles per hour or 84 kilometers per hour, and 3 inversions. It's about time Silverwood got a coaster manufactured by Rocky Mountain Construction because it's located only around 10 minutes from the RMC headquarters. RMC is one of the most innovative and best manufacturers in the game, and any coaster by them will certainly be good. Stunt Pilot is only taking the number 8 spot because 2 clones of it already exist, so while no doubt it will be great, we already know what to expect. We know it will have good airtime, insanely good pacing, and incredibly intense maneuvers. So it surely will be a good ride, but there are still 7 coasters I think that be better. We're going all the way from Idaho to Poland for the number 7 slot, which is Abyssus, opening at Energylandia. This is a Vekoma shockwave coaster with 2 launches, 4 inversions, 4,318 feet or 1,316 meters of track, a max height of 126 feet or 38 meters, and a max speed of 62 miles per hour or 100 kilometers per hour. Abyssus looks like a great coaster that could maybe even hit elite status. It's fairly long and looks to have some pretty good elements. For example, the Batwing looks to provide some pretty intense positive G-forces, and this corkscrew looks to have some good whip. And of course, you can't forget about all the airtime hills, which should provide some nice pops. And heck, there's even a wave turn. A wave turn on a Vekoma. I never thought I'd say that. It's hard to tell if it will give sideways airtime, but the point is, the ride has a fun looking layout and is a large step up from what Vekoma has done in the past. Until recently, Vekoma was making these. And these, which are widely considered some of the roughest and worst coaster models ever made. But Vekoma seems to be doing a full 180 as of late, and Abyssus might just be their best coaster yet. Coming in at the number 6 spot is Jersey Devil Coaster, opening at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. It is a track length of 3,000 feet or 914 meters, a max height of 130 feet or 40 meters, a max speed of 58 miles per hour or 93 kilometers per hour, a near vertical drop, and like most RMCs, 3 inversions. Jersey Devil is the second RMC Raptor opening this year, but unlike Stunt Pilot, Jersey Devil has an original layout. It is the first Raptor to not have the Wonder Woman layout, and I am personally intrigued to see how it compares. Jersey Devil will be a little taller and a fair amount longer, but won't be quite as fast or have as good pacing as the Wonder Woman clones. Since it's much more spread out, it won't feel the same as the other Raptors, which are non-stop intensity. But this may not really be an issue because Jersey Devil has some kick-butt elements. For example, a dive loop, big and small airtime hills, and arguably the best 2 inversions, a 0G stall and a 0G roll. It also ends with 3 small ejector hills that have potential to join Steel Vengeance's 5 back-to-back hills and Lightning Rod's quad down as one of the most legendary coaster finales. At the end of the day, it's an RMC, so what's not to be excited for? Rocking up at the number 5 slot is the Ride to Happiness, opening at Plopsaland in Belgium. Okay, I know, it might have one of the worst coaster names ever, but at least it's original. This is the second Mach Extreme spinning coaster to open, and it has 2 launches, 5 crazy inversions, 3,018 feet or 920 meters of track, a max height of 108 feet or 33 meters, and a max speed of 56 miles per hour or 90 kilometers per hour. The Ride to Happiness has fairly similar stats to the other Mach Extreme spinner, Time Traveler, which is a good thing because Time Traveler is known as a great ride. It has 2 more inversions though, and this is the category where the Ride to Happiness really shines. To start this ride off, it has a slow JoJo roll straight out of the station. This will give awesome hang time since Machs only have that comfortable lap bar. If you've ridden Copperhead Strike at Carowinds, this should feel similar to its JoJo roll. You then launch up into an outer bank turn into a large drop, which is going to be such a weird but awesome element. Of course, this is a Mach, so don't get too hyped about the launches because these launches are more about gaining speed instead of providing forces. You then travel through the banana roll, which is an insane looking element on its own, but you'll be taking the spinning, so this really has potential to be one of the greatest inversions of all time. You then have a vertical loop, 0G roll, a weird double inverting dive loop, and some fun looking airtime moments. And think, you'll be doing all of that while spinning. This surely has the potential to be one of the world's best coasters, but until we ride it, no one will know for sure. There's 4 coasters that we know for sure will be elite, so while the Ride to Happiness could be great, you should try not to overhype it just in case.
We're going back to the US for the number 4 slot, which is Pantheon, opening at Busch Gardens Williamsburg in Virginia. It pains to put me Pantheon this low, but that's how insanely good the new coasters are this year. This is our first coaster built by Intamin Amusement Rides on this list, and 90% of Intamin coasters are insanely good. 90%. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with that one. But luckily, Pantheon isn't a Zack spin, it's a Blitz coaster with yet another awesome layout. I love the current state of the coaster industry where Intamin, Mach, and even B&M are starting to go out of their comfort zones because of RMC. It really makes for some great coasters. Now, let's take a look at Pantheon's stats. It has a total track length of 3,328 feet or 1,014 meters, a max height of 178 feet or 54 meters, a max speed of 73 miles per hour or 117 kilometers per hour, 2 inversions, and a 95-degree drop. Those are some pretty impressive stats that are really large for a Blitz coaster. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Pantheon will be the tallest Intamin Blitz coaster when it opens. Looking at some of the early test run footage, Pantheon has been hauling like crazy, so let's take a look at its layout. After turning out of the station, you roll straight into the first launch, which sends you into a great looking 0G roll. You then go through some fun looking off-axis airtime hills. You then make your way back onto a switch track. Here you launch back and forth between a vertical spike and top hat. This is actually fairly similar to the section on Icebreaker, except the launch is over an airtime hill, and being an Intamin with the new lap bars that were used on Terran, this should give some awesome ejector airtime. It should also be much more forceful than the launches on Icebreaker. You then dive down that massive drop off the top hat and make a right hand turn by the river. Pantheon has an awesome setting by the water, and oh my gosh, Pantheon is literally Icebreaker's twin. But all jokes aside, after the turn you fly into a massive outer banked hill that just might rival the one on Steel Vengeance and become one of the best airtime and lateral moments of all time. You then haul through a turn that should slam you with some great positive Gs. You then go into a fun looking 0G stall. This should have tons of hang time and maybe even some upside down airtime. So, Amusement Media, what the heck are you doing placing this at the number 4 spot? It literally has one of the best and most perfectly well-rounded layouts of all time. Well, I do think it could be one of the best coasters on the planet, but until I ride it, I think there's 3 coasters that I'm just more excited for.
Returning to Belgium for the number 3 spot is Conda, opening at Walibi, Belgium. This Intamin mega coaster has potential to be one of the best roller coasters ever built, so let's look at its stats. It has a length of 3,937 feet or 1,200 meters, a max height of 164 feet or 50 meters, a max speed of 70 miles per hour or 113 kilometers per hour, plus there are 0 inversions and 15 moments of airtime. Most of the airtime looks to be strong ejector or flowjector, which is going to make for a legendary ride. There are 2 coasters I'm more excited for this year because 1, I'm not making it to Belgium for a long time, if ever, and 2, I'm just more hyped about the other rides. But Conda does look absolutely amazing, so let's get into its layout. Starting off the ride, you have a twisted first drop similar to one found on Expedition G-Force in Germany. This awesome drop will combine airtime and laterals, and since you have those Intamin lap bars, you'll be able to experience the full forces on your upper body. You then have a massive camelback that should give some great sustained air. After that, you go into a large outer bank that should feel similar to the one on Pantheon. Those are 3 amazing elements, but the ride doesn't stop there. You then go into this wild looking non-inverting cobra roll. Yes, you heard me right, a non-inverting cobra roll. The normal cobra roll that goes upside down twice has been built countless times on different coasters, but the one on Conda doesn't go upside down at all and will be the first ever to do this. After the airtime moments on the non-inverting cobra roll, you go into a strong airtime moment followed by a large wave turn. These will both be very forceful, great elements. You have a few more ejector airtime hills, some rapid turns, and this crazy hill that mixes laterals and airtime. It looks very similar to the one found on Skyrush if you're familiar with that ride. There's so much airtime towards the end of this ride, and to be honest, I do think it could be the best coaster on the planet. But like I said, there's 2 coasters I'm just more excited to ride. Also, Conda only costs around 15 million USD, so it would be a great option for a lot of other parks. I really hope Intamin builds a lot more of these mega coasters because they do look like a lot of fun. Traveling down to Florida for our number 2 spot, we're going to Universal's Islands of Adventure for Velocicoaster. This has quickly become one of the most hyped up roller coasters of all time. Seeing the Universal level theming and great looking layout, this Intamin Blitz coaster looks to be the full package. So first, let's take a look at some of its stats. Velocicoaster has a max height of 155 feet or 47 meters, a max speed of 70 miles per hour or 113 kilometers per hour, 2 launches, and 4 inversions. This is the 3rd coaster opening this year that has multiple launches and a top hat. And the weirdest thing about all 3 is that like Icebreaker and Pantheon, Velocicoaster is also right on the water. We know there is a pre-show with some Chris Pratt voice lines, and looking at the insane amount of theming Universal did with Hagrid's magical motor, you know what, I'm not saying that whole name, you know what it is. And that's actually another plus of Velocicoaster, its name. It's super unique and I've never heard something quite like it, but it's certainly cool. After that on-ride pre-show, you launch into the first section of the ride where you're in the Raptor enclosure. You have an Immelman, a dive loop, a couple bank turns, and some fun-looking airtime hills. The Raptor enclosure you're diving through looks like it's straight out of the Jurassic World movies, and the mixture of the rockwork, plants, and water features makes me think Velocicoaster will become America's version of Terran, which is certainly good because Terran looks insane. After being boosted by the second LSM launch, you break out of the enclosure and into this beautiful looking top hat. It does have trims on the top, but they shouldn't affect the drop too much and it still should give some insane air. You then go into this 100-foot long 0G stall. I'm seriously hyped for this element, and the mixture of hang time and views of the guests below you might just make for the best inversion of all time. You then go through a bank turn into this wild looking hill that should give some great laterals mixed with flowjector airtime. While your mind is still trying to process that stall and fun airtime moment, you go into a nice ejector pop down into a whippy barrel roll right over the water. Obviously, there's clearance so you can't touch the water, but I bet it's going to provide a wild sensation making you think you'll dunk under. You then twist up into the break, still trying to process the ridiculous second half of that coaster. The first half has top-notch theming, and the second has some of the best sequence of elements I've ever seen. Will it be the best coaster in the world? Maybe. But since no one's ridden it yet, we don't know for sure. It does seem like it might have some pacing issues, but I'm not super worried about that. Some people would say Pantheon and Conda have better layouts, and that might actually be true. The actual coaster section alone of Velocicoaster might not be as good as Conda or even Pantheon, but universal level theming with a monster of an Intamin sounds like a top tier coaster to me. Alright ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for, coming in at the number 1 spot is Iron Gwazi. Busch Gardens Tampa surely has a winner on their hands with this 206 foot or 63 meter tall RMC hybrid. This is arguably the best coaster model ever designed because of its strong ejector and flowjector moments, whippy inversions, and just flat out weird elements. Iron Gwazi is the first RMC to have purple track and it looks absolutely awesome. Being in that 200 to 299 foot range, it is a hypercoaster joining Steel Vengeance and Zadra as the third hyper hybrid. It is the only hypercoaster opening this year, though rides like Pantheon get close. Compared to Steel Vengeance, it is around 30 seconds shorter, so I still think Steel Vengeance will remain most people's favorite coaster, but Iron Gwazi will be close behind. Gwazi may not have as many airtime moments as Steel Vengeance, but it should have the same level of sustained airtime and some awesome inversions. It is tied with Zadra as the tallest hybrid in the world and is the fastest and steepest hybrid by a very small margin. It has a max speed of 76 miles per hour or 122 kilometers per hour, a total track length of 4,075 feet or 1,242 meters, a more than vertical drop at 91 degrees. Yes, they went for 91 so they could get the record by 1 degree. It also has 2 inversions and 12 moments of airtime. If you're unfamiliar with RMC, they take old, bad, rough wooden coasters like Gwazi and turn them into world-class thrill machines. They had to do a lot of work with the Gwazi structure, but it's shaping up to be one of the best roller coasters of all time. I feel like a broken record saying that, but genuinely, this year has some nutty coasters. After getting sustained airtime down the 206 foot first drop, you rise into this inward banked hill where you are then slammed outwards. The only element I can really compare this to is the massive outer bank on Steel Vengeance, yet this one's still pretty different. That comparison is good though, because many consider that one of the best elements of all time for its sustained airtime and lateral G-forces. You then curve to the right and rise up into your first inversion. Busch Gardens has coined this element the death roll, and not because it'll kill you, but because it will try to throw you out of the train with its intense whip, upside down airtime, and hang time. All three sensations at once are rare to find, but it will only be a more ramped up version of the other barrel roll down drops. There are 3 at the moment on Twisted Timbers, Medusa Steel Coaster, and Storm Chaser. These are highly regarded drops, but since they're the first drops of their respected coasters, they are taken at a much lower speed than the death roll will. This will cause it to be crazy forceful and another contender for the best inversion on the planet. This year is a really great year for inversions. The various 0G stalls and 0G rolls make it an insane competition. Following the death roll, you rise up into this inwards bank turn. This will probably feel like an inversion even though it doesn't technically qualify as one. You'll probably feel some sideways hang time and also get a good head chopper with the nearby supports. Once again, with clearance, it's safe, so though it will feel like your hands will hit the structure, you're completely fine. You also might be pinned in your seat with some positive Gs, but Alan Shoki, the head designer at RMC, doesn't like putting large amounts of positive Gs on his coasters, so we'll just see. You then go through a wave turn over the station, which should give some good sideways airtime. You then pop up into an airtime moment, into another wave turn, into the second inversion, a 0G stall. Just like Velocicoaster, Iron Gwazi has 2 of the best inversions on the planet, and it'll certainly make Florida an even bigger destination for coaster enthusiasts. The next section of the ride goes like this: bank turn, airtime hill, bank turn, off-axis double up, yet another bank turn, into the final airtime hill before the brakes. This is a great ejector airtime filled ending that will surely be amazing. Iron Gwazi is also hauling in the early test runs and seems to barely even lose speed. Strong airtime and crazy inversions makes Iron Gwazi my most anticipated coaster opening this year in 2021. I hope you all enjoyed today's video, and if you did, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know what your most anticipated coasters are in the comments below. This year might just be the best year ever for coasters, and personally, I can't wait. Hopefully you all had a great Easter, stay safe, and keep riding coasters.